Hello. Take some time to let everybody in. Waiting for Dr. Brandi. Get into it. Hello. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining us. We're getting ready to let Dr. Brandi in here in a minute. I'm so happy y'all joining. Yes. Tonight we are talking about it is who you are, not what you do, on tonight's Loving Me Style session. Waiting for Brandi to come on in. Let me see it. Am I doing this right? Come on. I'm excited to get into it. I've been knowing Dr. Brandi now 6 years. We met before the pandemic. Hello, friend.
What? What
I
is
miss
that?
you. What you say?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yes, I miss you.
I miss you, boo. I miss you, boo.
How
Hey, look.
are you?
Hey,
How
look.
are
I said what I said earlier. Did you see what I said earlier about
I
you?
did.
I
I did.
said what I said. Fashionista bona fide, baby. I want them glasses, and that lip is lipping.
Yes, we got the ombre going on. We have to do it with our red. Red is passion. Red is desire. Yes, pull them in, pull them in. And then,
I'm
of
with
course,
it.
we all need a signature jacket. Okay, we need a signature jacket just to pop off a white tee and some jeans. Let's get it with the signature look. Okay.
I'm with it. I wouldn't expect nothing less, honestly.
Well, you can call me when you need me. I'm here to style you.
So
I'm
I'm gonna
here
tell
for
you,
you.
I was gonna wear one of my McCray style outfits.
They was
I
too
really was,
sexy because you got some sexy stuff, baby.
baby. So let me tell you what the dilemma was. I had a dilemma. It was either a little too much for the night. It was a little too much. I wasn't trying to bring all of that. It was a little too sexy,
I get it.
or it was too hot.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember the
Because you're in
mahogany, the
Arizona
burgundy?
now.
Remember that one?
Which one?
It's like mahogany and it's like so regal and it's the pant
Yeah,
jumper.
yeah. That's fire. That's for the stage.
That's my favorite.
That's for the stage. Fellas, I am here to style your wife. Okay. Get her ready for the stage. Get her ready for the boardroom. Get her ready for your anniversary date, the birthday date, the birthday party. We are here to style.
She's
Okay.
the one. She is the one. I
So
might
let's
pop
get
out and
into
show
it.
y'all one day.
Let's get into it though, Brandi.
Okay.
Let's get into it because I have been just, we met in 2019,
Was it? Mm-hmm.
right? It was before the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just working on personal development. I've called you. I'm like, girl, you my smart friend. I need some advice from my smart friend. And you're like, girl, I can't, but I can, but right. So I want to talk about really from your perspective as a psychologist, our identity
Ooh.
is who you are, not what you do, and how are we supposed to connect with ourselves in a more authentic
Ooh.
way. And I'm thinking, because I see you just living so free. I mean, your kids is doing good. He rapping on stages with no fear. I'm like, he got that fearlessness from Brandi. You know,
Oh no, he gets that fearlessness from his parents.
from his
He
parents.
get it from
Okay.
all the DNA. From From
Yes.
his mama and his
His
daddy. True and
mama
true.
and his daddy. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to watch you. And then the Diane Morgan group,
Thank
Future for
you.
Teens.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself. Tell the people about yourself.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you. You said it's who you are and not what you do. So I'm gonna tell you what I do, and then I'm gonna tell you who I am.
Yes.
Okay. So what I do, what I have been anointed and called to do, is to support the healing journey of our people, of our community, of our people, corporate individuals, families. Essentially, the Diane Morgan Group is my therapeutic and consulting firm. I am Dr. Brandi Pritchett Johnson. People ask me all the time, well, who was Diane and who was Morgan then? It's all in a name. It is symbolism for what it means to transcend your traumas. Diane is my mother. Uh, May she rest in peace. She passed away in 1993 at the age of 27. And then my godmother is Morgan, who passed away at 41 years old in 2007. And so the Diane Morgan is a homage to these incredible women in this women's and the celebration of women this month of March. I'm celebrating those two women. And so as a psychologist, as a speaker, as a trainer, as an educator, I think I have landed on the following. My mission is to cultivate healthy, liberated individuals, communities that are empowered to live their life better.
Yes.
Right? To create change and make whole health, financial health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health a priority. And I am on a journey of my own. So that's what I do. But who I am a 10-year-old child in a 41-year-old body. Okay. I am evolving and transcending myself every day. I am a flawed, excuse my language, human ass individual. As far as my roles, I'm also a mother, as you said. I am still a wife, but I will soon actually be an ex-wife. So I am actually transcending a relationship, a very pivotal relationship. And I'm just on a journey of my own, of liberation on my own. I'm a creative. I'm a visionary. I'm super sensitive. Yes, I cry at commercials.
Yes,
So
me too.
I just want to give you the multifaceted aspects of what it means for me to be human.
Yeah. And
That's who I am.
That's what I'm getting when I listen to some of your Facebooks, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have shown yourself to be a doctor that says, you know what, I'm working on my own journey. I'm healing, and this is what it looks like for me to heal as well. I'm taking my own advice. I'm journaling. I'm talking about it. I'm thinking of the good things, the positive things. I'm working through it, right? Like you're talking about the issue, but you're also working through the issue. You're changing your perspective. And I think it's just amazing to see your process
Thank
as a psychologist, even saying, look, I'm human. Yeah, I did the work. I study. I do help others, but this is a continual work. This is a continual process, and that's something to find peace in. So yeah, I've went on your page. I watch you. I love you. I watch you.
you.
And when you announced it, I was like, divorce, right?
Yeah.
How are you processing, if I can ask that?
You could ask me anything, Jen. Now, I might not answer
Right.
everything, but you can ask me anything. And I offer that to my clients as well. I say, look, the only requirement in this space is authenticity. And I hold myself to the same expectation
Yeah.
because that's where you create genuine intimacy and connection. So you're welcome to ask me anything. And in all transparency, that doesn't mean I'm going to answer everything,
Right.
just out of honor and respect for myself
Yeah.
and my family.
Yeah.
But what I can say is, how am I processing everything? I think the best answer would be slowly. I
Yeah.
think that's the best answer.
Okay.
Is genuinely like slowly, sometimes painfully, and also kind of deliberately. There's a term that we use in therapy called metacognition, and it's the practice of like thinking about thinking. And
Okay.
so I spend a lot of time like in an introspective place. Like, okay, what exactly is it that I'm feeling? What exactly is it that that's connected to?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly, why do I think
Yeah.
this way? Like, why am I having this reaction? And as someone that has historically actually been, this is sometimes the consequence of our resilience. I have historically been sometimes a little disconnected from my own vulnerability, actually,
Mm-hmm.
because of the resilience. Like, let's get to it, let's work through it, let's focus on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to work really hard to navigate big transitions like a divorce or the loss
Yeah.
of a loved one. You know, I just lost my grandmother as
Yeah.
well. I
Yeah.
have to do that with a lot of intentionality. So I'm just not on autopilot all the time.
Do you feel like you're finding yourself again? Like, do you feel like a part of your identity was, I am a wife, right? I am this person in this position, in this role. Do you feel yourself feeling like, okay, I need to take a step back and rediscover who Brandi is again?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without
Okay.
a shadow of a doubt. And I don't think that that's only solely associated with my role as a wife. I think that's also associated with the way in which motherhood has changes me over time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my oldest son will be a teenager this year. And
Mm-hmm.
so things like that. My age, you know, I am soon to be 42. So I remember when I turned 40, that felt really significant.
Mm-hmm.
I think having my grandmother pass away, and with the exception of my godfather, I don't not having parents or grandparents.
The uh
So that generational kind of shift at this stage of my life, where so much of the family I grew up with is gone. Um,
So
so
where is your identity anchored? Can I ask you that? Like, for people that's struggling with the who I am part, right? Not with just what you do. You are a psychologist, but a lot of us are deeply anchored in our family and where we come from. What's your anchor?
oh God,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's got to be. And
It's got
sometimes I'm I'm not I'm not grounded. I reflect and I can see areas of my life where I haven't been very grounded in my faith in a way that is at the forefront,
mm-hmm.
but that's the only place because everything else is so fluid and it changes. Everything else changes. It can't be in me as a mother. One day they're going to go.
Yeah. One day they're
It,
gonna go.
it, it can't be me in my identity as a psychologist because what if I can't practice? When my grandmother, she took a change and she got very ill, it was right after, it was literally the day after I did a meet and greet. You were there
Mm-hmm.
with me. It was March 22nd of 2023. We had this meet and greet. I was rebranding my business and growing my business. And the next day, my grandmother, the 23rd, my grandmother fell. And by July of 2023, I was dismantling my practice.
Oh wow.
So it
That
can't be
did happen.
anchored in my.
I remember you like, oh, I'm leaving. We were like, I was like, oh, yeah, because you had just had the party there at the new spot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. I've invested money. I switched my office. I brought on these new people. I mean, I'm
Wow.
responsible for payroll.
Yeah.
Like these are people relying on
And
me.
you're
And by
like, I
July,
gotta move across the country, y'all. Why,
it's like I got to shut it down.
yeah.
So if my identity was solely anchored in if who I am was solely anchored in me being a psychologist, then now what?
I think
Yeah.
it's important to know our center. Like you said, first and foremost, easy right out your mouth, God, right? Like you are God centered, family centered. So it was hard because other people were depending on you, but you knew what decision to make. You know who you are. You know who you are, and you are a woman that puts family as a priority. And I know that that's a decision that you're happy that you made. You know,
Without it. Yeah,
yeah.
without it. Yeah. Can I say something about this, Jen?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you've asked us to talk, you've invited me here to talk about it's not who you are. It's like, it's not what you do, but it's who you are.
It's who
It's
you
not
are.
on you, it's in you.
Yep.
So even more than being oriented about around family, because my orientation was around family. But
Mm-hmm.
even more than being oriented around family, I have to be honest, the decision was really connected to who I want to be as a person is a person that has integrity and that is in alignment. And
Yeah.
if my brand is wellness and I'm not well, that's disalignment. So now it's not authentic. So I have to make a pivot that feels more congruent with what feels genuine at this time. And sometimes it takes time to make that
Yeah.
pivot. Like
Yeah.
I'm not always, you know, on square business. Do people still say square business?
Listen, I understand completely. I understand because
Yeah.
it's important. I worked in an industry for a long time that I didn't think represented me and who I really was. And people didn't understand, like, how you just gonna quit and walk away and go move back home and live with your mama? And I'm like, I didn't talk to my parents for 15 years.
Mm.
Associated myself with my parents for 15 years. It got to the point where I was hearing a voice out the TV.
Oh,
Like,
they were calling you.
they weren't calling me, but the Lord was like, you need to
That's what I'm
go
saying.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you need to fix this. And nobody was going to fix it but me. And when you talk about being authentic and being in alignment, a lot of people still to this day don't understand why I am the way that but it's been so much healing being at home. I feel the most myself that I've ever been. I've been able to dig a lot of that stuff up from the root, those generational problems, understanding my parents at a whole different level, helped me understand myself, processing what it really feels like to forgive, and then
Mm.
what it look like to really let things go. Um, when you got all the time and space in the world and you really believe in yourself, you're like, okay, let's go, let's do this.
Yeah.
But then when you're not growing and you're not moving forward, there's some real work that needs to be done. And so integrity with self, keeping my reputation and integrity with myself, like I get that. I definitely get that. Like that's that's important on every angle, to be honest with yourself and keep your integrity with yourself. That is your identity.
It is. I really respect and can appreciate that you heard the charge and you accepted the call because a lot of us miss it. A lot of us really miss it. Like you said, "Oh,
Did y'all
I'm
feel
ambitious."
that? I felt that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about having courage. I mean, that's what you're describing because this wasn't a cognitive choice. This wasn't a choosing. This was a calling and you
The sacrifice.
surrendered. Yeah, you surrendered to it. You said, in order for me to be on a spiritual level, it sounds like you said, in order for me to be who I need to be, I need to address some
Yeah.
things. And
Yes.
you did it.
Yes.
What do you think
Yes.
would have been the consequence if you didn't?
More of the same. Um,
Oh.
Not being able to get up out of bed from being so depressed. Not being able to eat, you know, dead in relationships. Purposely going with the wrong guy because I didn't feel worthy enough for the right guy.
Mm.
Um, a lot of that was anchored in not feeling approved by my parents. And even as an adult, I'm like, man, forget them. Who cares? I'm leaving. I got this. I love me. But that's not what my actions show. That's not what my
Yeah.
show. And so for you to say those things, you have to really look at your life and say, you know what? My life isn't reflecting the woman that I say that I am.
That's
My life
it.
right now is not reflecting who I say I'm called to be, who I say I am, what I say that's important. How you say family is important? You don't even talk to yours. And you're not even doing nothing to fix it, right?
Girl.
But you say family is important. You say finances is important. Yours is a shambles. You're not addressing it,
You don't even got
right?
a budget.
Like you don't even have a budget, right? So there was some things in my life that I was like, look, I have to somehow figure out what change looks like, how to take accountability. And the first place I knew to start was home. I felt like the problem started at home, so we're gonna fix them at home, and we're gonna fix them together, honey. If it ain't the last thing and the first thing that I do, I'm gonna go back home and do my best to address, dig up from the root, forgive, and hopefully let go. So
And
yeah.
and again, I'm mad. I can't, I have much respect for you anyway, but I have a lot of respect for that because people don't recognize the true cost of confronting yourself in service of yourself. And so what feels like disruption or destruction is actually really like, it's like when you demolish a house in order to
Rebuild.
rebuild. It looks like trash for a little while,
Yeah.
but it's necessary. You can't build on top of that.
Yeah.
You got to demolish that. And then I also want to say, because I'm sure people will listen to this and think, well, I'm protecting my peace. We hear
Yeah.
that a lot, or, so hear me clearly, because I endorse everything that you just said, Jen. I think that that's courageous. I think that that's accountable. I think it demonstrates taking a sense of responsibility for your wholeness and your health and your well-being. And know that confronting your stuff doesn't necessarily mean it's all going to work out on behalf of whomever you're reconciling with,
Yeah.
like the family. It's not about that. It's about addressing what you have to
Yeah.
address, and how they respond is how they
Yeah.
respond.
I mean, I didn't come here to change you, right?
Right.
I didn't come here. It's like any relationship. You get to a point, hopefully, where you can maturely say, I accept you for who you are. I
Yeah.
love you. I accept you for who you are. But this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. I'm not going to run from it. I'm not going to hide behind anybody else's whatever. And I'm going to stand down on who I feel God has called me to be. And like you
Yeah.
said, answering that call. And so there began to be some very uncomfortable conversations. And that's okay, because on the other side of those uncomfortable conversations begins a new level of understanding and rebuilding. Like you said, tear it down, tear it all down so you can
Mm-hmm.
rebuild it again
Mm-hmm.
brick by brick. So now you're not in relationship with the child. You're not in relationship with the past. You're in relationship with the present. You're in relationship with the woman that I am now, the woman that I am
Yeah.
today. And so you've seen the process. I've called you. I've called you,
Yeah.
you know. I need to
Yes.
talk to my smart friend. I'm going through it, you know, even in dating, even in dating, like how can you really be in a relationship if you haven't taken the time out to say, look, this is who I am,
Yeah.
and not pleasing, just to go
I think
along and
that's
have
true.
somebody.
That's true. I will say
Uh-uh.
that. Uh-oh. Are we here?
Okay,
Are
I
we
can
good?
hear
Where
you.
we at?
I
What we
can hear
doing?
you. Right, I can
Okay.
hear you now.
I will see the devil is a lie.
He a
Uh-uh.
lie. He a
Don't
lie.
be interrupting what we got going on. No, I just playing. But I do want to say this though, because I want to say this, that we curate and we cultivate who we're becoming in relationship to others. So it's also a little bit of a misconception that you have to be perfection in order to be in a relationship. You don't. However, you have to, just as you described in relationship to your family, however, you have to be able to recognize the call to action, the call to transcend yourself while in relationship to others. Whether it's a family member, whether it's a dating romantic relationship, whether it's a child, your children. I am of the perspective, I haven't talked much at this point, and I probably will continue to be very deliberate about how I talk about my marriage and my divorce, because I'm still very vulnerable, and so is my family. But what I am going to say, because it feels genuine to say it in this moment, is that I genuinely believe that me and my husband were equally yoked, and God called us into relationship at that time. I believe that. I don't believe that, oh, I made a mistake because it didn't work out,
Right.
or, oh, he wasn't the right person because it didn't work out. I believe that the evolution of who I'm becoming as a person is no longer thinks the way I thought then. So you have to kind of be willing, and that doesn't necessarily always mean severing a relationship. It might be transforming a relationship, but you have to take the call to action. You don't have to be perfect to have love, but you have to be able to respond when you detect dysfunction, dysregulation, and destruction.
So what does that look like for somebody to take the steps and say, you know what, I've been noticing these negative habits and it's not me, but I got this pattern. I got this pattern. It could be addiction, drinking too much, it could be always late. It could be not keeping your spaces clean. It could be serial dating. What would you say to a person who's developed these unhealthy habits? How can they begin to transform into the person that they truly honestly believe within themselves that they are?
Yeah, so the first order of business, as we're talking so much about here, is to just take inventory, appraise, and get real about it. Now, sometimes it's hard to see yourself. Yeah. So I'm concerned about my connection. I'm sorry, y'all. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when you're on the other side of the world. Right now, I'm on the other side of the world.
That's okay, because the devil's a lie. We doing this.
But listen, but look, so the first order of business, I'm working on a project right now. It's called A Liberated Me, and it has 6 affirmations associated with them. And the first one is to get real, to really get real. And the easiest way to get real, because sometimes we don't have insight about our habits, the easiest way to get real is to assess and appraise your symptoms. So am I tired all the time? Am I irritable all the time? Am I frustrated all the time? Do I ruminate a lot? Do I have anxious energy in my body? Am I gaining weight? Am I losing weight? You don't need to know why. So you might not have insight right away, but detect and notice your symptoms. Then what you do is you capitalize on that, you leverage that, and you take notice of patterns and behaviors. And if you can't see them, you ask the people around you. Even if you don't believe them, you ask the people around you. And then, I'm sorry, y'all, but you have to go, what they say, peace be still, you have to go in isolation for a little bit so that you can clear out all the white noise. I'm not talking about retreat. I'm talking about tranquility, just for a little bit, okay? Just for a little bit. If people need a strict range of time, I would say 30 days. I would say 30-ish days. And the reason I would say that is because when you look at symptomology and the criteria around depression and anxiety, there's a time frame in there where it kind of goes into something else that you're not isolating, but you're just peace be still. So you get the white noise. Every shrink loves a journal, because if you're just writing, free writing, whatever comes to mind. I know a lot of people say that they go to write and they get stuck. So what? Write that. I'm real stuck. I don't know what to say. This is stupid. I don't know how I feel. Write that.
Yeah.
It will trigger parts of your brain to do what it's intended to do. So you don't have to have it in consciousness. And then as you get real, so you take inventory, right? As you get real and you take inventory, then you got to get ready. People usually jump from being honest and seeing a problem to action. You don't jump right into action because you're not going to be able to sustain that. I want to lose weight. I get a membership. I'm going to go every day. 3 weeks later, you don't go at all.
Right.
So you need to take inventory, and then you need to prepare. Okay, based upon what I know about my life, am I really going to go to the gym every day at 6 a.m.? Or what is it that attracts me to these type of men over and over? Or what is it that it offers me?
Right.
As it relates to addiction, people are always talking about addiction from a place of judgment. Flip that on his head. What do I like about smoking weed?
Right.
What do I love about it? Why do I love it so much? Because it soothes me. Dang, so I smoke 7 times a day. I need a lot of soothing. Hold on. Wait a minute. Right? What do I like about alcohol? Because it's fun. It gets me out of my head. Man, I drink every day. I'm escaping my mind every day.
Yeah.
What am I escaping?
Yeah.
Just get curious.
Yeah.
Get real curious. And then, of course, get you a shrink. Get a therapist or a therapeutic coach, a spiritual counsel too. I would encourage all of the following.
I can agree with everything you're saying. For me to make this change and to really transform, there was an inventory. I didn't know that, what I was doing, but like you said, just really trying to keep it real with yourself. And I found myself going through a bottle of wine and went from social drinking to drinking at home. And I'm like, dang, I just sat up here and drank this whole bottle. And I went to the bigger bottle, right, of wine.
Because it's on sale at Costco.
Right. And it's not what's up. Like, what am I really avoiding? What am I really doing? Like you said, what am I getting out of it? Instead of just straight going to the what's wrong with it, but why am I doing it? What am I really getting out of it? And the peace or the avoiding and the really just not just numbing myself, right? Yeah. When I started to meditate, I found more peace and I could sleep better. And my head was clear enough to really truly pray. And I was like, you know what? I got to pray before I go to bed every night. Not just like a quick little prayer, but a really dumping, like a really letting go, like a really putting it on the cross, like a really, like letting it out, and releasing. And then I would sleep so much better. And I found that with the alcohol, like, oh, I need some wine before I go to bed or whatever. It wasn't a release. I wasn't able to truly relax. And I really wasn't getting into a deep REM sleep. I wasn't waking up feeling rested. So yeah, what are you getting? And even like with relationships, like I would take a break. I might break for a long time. I mean, I've been celibate for 3 years. I've done this, and then you get right back in it, but then you get right back into the same old habit. And you're like, no, that ain't it either. What am I doing? What am I really looking for? And what, digging in a little deeper for the connection, and what am I getting out of, what am I looking to get out of just going on these dates and like, so I had to take a step back and pause. Like you said, do the inventory, wait before you just jump right into action. Yeah.
And get some counsel. Some formal counsel that can help you. Well, that can help you do the lift. You can't do this alone. Let me tell you, I got 3 therapists on rotation for myself because so I have consults of my own. Even the shrink needs a shrink too. And I want to say this too, because I appreciate you sharing your experience with alcohol. It can be really uncomfortable for us to take that first step. The being real and taking inventory is tricky because it's very intimidating and it's very vulnerable. But I'll tell you, for me, so I no longer drink alcohol either. And what made me do that, first of all, I just felt like I needed to. Like I just felt like I need to be able to demonstrate a different level of clarity, a different level of consciousness, and a different level of discipline than I've been able to date. And so that was one aspect of that. In full transparency, it wasn't like I should stop drinking. It really was more of like a calling thing. Like, I think you need to have a different relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed, and you were kind of speaking on this too, is, you know, nobody wakes up and says, you know, when I grow up, I think I want to be an alcoholic.
Right.
And that's not fun.
Yeah.
And so nobody wakes up and thinks that, you know, so you have to notice how subtle and insidious your habits are with certain things. And it works with things that we deem favorable as well. Workaholics.
Yeah.
It took me a while to discover that one of my coping mechanisms is competence. I noticed about 5 years ago that when I was most anxious, I did more. That is counterproductive. I am so overwhelmed. So why am I adding things? Because the pursuit of accomplishing something that I feel like I can do makes me feel better and it soothes me. That is a sabotaging behavior.
Ooh, girl,
So
you speaking to me right now.
it works in favorable ways too.
Yeah.
It's not just addiction or bad relationships. It's achievement.
Yeah.
It's performance.
Yeah. You should have saw me building that store like a maniac. Like I was drinking, but I was also staying up late, just working on the store. I had so many issues I was going through, from relationships to religion to parents to finances. And I was like, let me just build a store. Let me just work on the store. Let me just work on the store. Let me just work on the store. I felt guilty sometimes about wanting to sleep. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't go to sleep. I gotta finish this. I gotta get to a certain level. You know, I gotta get here. I gotta get here. And it was like, yo, like what? You running nowhere fast, and you draining yourself and tiring yourself out. Um, it was feeding, like you said, it was like some sort of addiction, like something I was feeding. Like I had to feel like I was achieving in some area of my life because I wasn't fully satisfied in other areas. So I was using the store to hide behind. I was using the store to work and hide behind a lot of things. Although it grew, but I mean, I would, like I said, I would feel guilty about going to sleep. I would feel guilty about taking a nap, like until I got to a certain level in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say? You sleep when you die? Well, if you don't sleep, you're going to
You
die.
gonna
You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this. How can we, from a psychological standpoint, how could you, from like a healing
Yes.
standpoint, psychological standpoint, say what are some steps people can take to identify their true self? Because like you said, sometimes these things are hard to identify, but we know we're not living up to our potential. We feel a sense of dissatisfaction. We're trying to soothe it with alcohol or weed or whatever work.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, or what can you say that we could do from a psychological standpoint to help identify our true selves and try to break free from that?
Well, one of the things that comes up in therapy a lot with my clients is, and it's just astonishing to me every single time, because it happens every single time, is people have the answers. They do. Everything you need, and I know people have heard this, everything you need, you have. Everything, I promise you. I don't care if you are impoverished or if you are wealthy. Everything you need from an intuitive, spiritual dimension of existence, you have. It's about capitalizing on it, identifying, connecting to it, because it kind of, the feature, it feels different from person to person. We label it different from person to person. Where I talk about my relationship to God, the next person may talk about their relationship to the universe. Okay, fine, whatever. But either way, you have it. It's about tapping into it. So when I'm in therapy with people, they're always asking me for the answers. And what I do, and then I say something that apparently is so profound. I mean, people are so generous with their affection. But I ain't done nothing but listen. I listened real deeply. I could hear between what I could hear under what you're saying,
Yeah.
beneath what you're saying. I can hear what your body is telling me. I can hear what your mind is saying that your mouth won't say.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I hear, my God. And then those two things come together. So that's why counsel is so important, because you don't have to, you can't carry it by yourself. You can't do it for yourself all the time. So the first, and we have something at our disposal that is really useful, actually. It's called Google.
Right. Right.
And so you could use it for good, and you can sit down, right? All you need is 30 minutes. Sit down, write a list of all of the things that you're feeling. If you don't know what you're feeling, Google feeling chart. It'll give you a feeling wheel with all kind of words.
If
You look at words and you don't know what they mean, guess what? Google it, dictionary. Okay.
I did find that helpful. I found it helpful to know the difference between being nice and being kind, because I found myself being too nice. And when I realized that word meant agreeable, I'm like, that's what it is. Like, I'm going along with things that I don't want to go along with. I'm agreeing to things that I don't really believe in, or I don't really want to agree with. And that has nothing to do with me being kind. And so I was able to let go of identifying myself as being nice and always being too nice and agreeable and going along with things, because what it would do is cause anxiety inside of me, because I'm doing something I don't really want to do, and I'm doing something that I really don't believe in, and it will cause a panic attack because I'm at war with it. And it was just this weird, like you said, people pleasing, going along to get along, being too nice, kind of a thing. And it has absolutely nothing to do with being kind and keeping your integrity. And so when I looked at certain emotions and certain feelings and what they meant and putting a definition behind it, it made it more powerful in my affirmation to speak those things that I really, really wanted. Like, peace has become way more valuable to me than happiness.
Yeah.
You know?
But see, like, you didn't see again. See, you, you don't really know the magnitude of what you've done for yourself. And I'm so proud of you, because, like, honey, you said I'm your smart friend, honey. You my smart friend too, because we talk about common sense. That's deep, sophisticated wisdom, what you're describing, because, it's easy. You just described insight. You just described insight and a personal accountability when you said, I had to discover the difference and look up and learn the difference between being nice and being kind, because I noticed that I was agreeing to things and being agreeable in ways that was causing me distress, so much so that I had anxiety and panic attacks. You could have very easily said, all these people are acting a fool. Don't nobody treat me right. Everybody ain't SHIT. They ain't this, they ain't that. You could have deflected that. But what you did is you said, okay, while the behaviors of others maybe aren't the most desirable, because humans are flawed, but I don't got power over that. But I do have power over me. So what is this telling me about me? You a grown woman. You grown.
Girl, I will say this.
Grown.
There are levels to accountability.
True.
And I have been praying for extreme accountability. And I didn't know to pray for that. You know, I was just praying for healing, wisdom, understanding, guidance. I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of listening, but I've always believed in the power of being honest. And I would tell people honesty works, that you can't really address the problem if you're not honest about it. So if I have a problem with people pleasing, they don't have a problem with me pleasing them. I have a problem with having my boundaries crossed. Do I have any boundaries, Dwyla? Do I have any boundaries? Have I identified? Have I shared those boundaries? Some of that responsibility is on me.
Right.
They didn't know that they were crossing my boundaries. They didn't know that what they were doing was causing me to have panic attacks. I didn't even know I was that girl. I went home one year and I went to go see my childhood doctor and she put a heart monitor on me. And every time I got around my mama, I was having a panic attack.
Yeah.
I was being judged constantly, I felt. And I was just going along. Yes, mommy. Yes, mommy. Yes, mommy. Because her standards of me and her, you know, it's so high. And that's a great thing. But at the same time, I wasn't I wasn't agreeing with internally with the things I were made to agree with. And here I am in my 30s trying to figure out, why did I start having these panic attacks? So extreme accountability is, it's up to you to heal you.
That's right.
At what age do we stop blaming our mama?
That's right.
At what age do you stop pointing the finger at how you was raised? Like, come on now, you in your 30s. Like, she's a grown woman. If you looked at her like a friend, or if you looked at her like somebody you went to school with, would you be so agreeable? Like, how much courage and strength would you have to tell somebody no, or you doing too much, or that ain't me, or that ain't for me? And so, yeah, extreme accountability, especially as a business owner, like, your money is your problem, and it's up to you to fix it. Your money, as much coaching, accounting, and help and advice.
We're going on a field trip because I want my signal to get together. Let's see if it feels better over here. We moving to the other side of the couch. Keep going, because you speaking to me.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'm you know, I've had several different accountants. Some of them I didn't feel like really knew what they were doing. I want to get all the benefits of having an LLC. I want to get all the benefits of being a corporation. I want to get all the benefits. I want to know if I need to be a corporation or a company instead of an LLC. I want to know about a trust. I want to know about different things. That's why I went into business for myself. So I had to take full accountability on saying, hey, I need to educate myself on these things. I need to ask more questions. I was like, okay, thank you. Oh yeah, thank you so much. No. Ask more questions, look it up, find a definition. Like you said, Google is our friend. And now we got ChatGPT. ChatGPT ain't playing with you. Like, you can ask ChatGPT some real questions. Say, look, this is how old I am. This is where I'm at in my life. This is where I'm looking to go. This is what I do for a living. These are my financial goals. And they will straight map out a whole plan for you in ChatGPT. And you can ask them questions. Even tonight, I said, you know what? I'm interviewing a psychologist. We've been friends for a while. I'm doing a talk show called Loving Me Style Session. And
we're giving all the tips
on mental health and healing. So I really just wanted people to be able to get some tangible information out. Because I know, girl, we could talk. Like, we could just talk, me and you. But I really wanted to make sure that I anchored down and asked some questions that could really help people. You know, like, well, that's
I'm gonna ask anybody watching a couple questions. I mean, you can't do this work if you really. I can't give you the reader. You can't get the Reader's Digest version and think that you're an expert. It don't work that way. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. That's an illusion. You have to be willing to really break in to yourself in order to do quality
Breaking in,
appraisal
that's a good word.
consistently and over and over. You have to be willing to do that. So I'm going to offer a couple of questions I encourage people to meditate over or pray over or journal over. And it's literally, what is inhibiting me from living the life that I desire? And there is a term in therapy called Socratic questioning, or where you kind of scaffold your questions. So when you have your answer, what is inhibiting me from living the life that I desire? You write your list. You might write down my mama. Okay, so then the next question becomes, what is it about my mother that is inhibiting me from living the life that I desire to live? She's judgmental. Well, what is it about her judgment that is impeding me from living the life that I want to live? It makes me feel like shit. Okay. Okay, great. We've gotten to a place of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it makes me feel like shit. Well, what makes me feel inspired to live the life that I desire to live? And then you write that down. And if you get stuck, ChatGPT, I'm stuck. I don't know how to live the life I desire to live. So these are just practical modern day things. Of course, as a psychologist, I could say, meditate, journal, go for a walk, pray. Sure. But okay, what do I journal? Those are some questions.
Break in to your heart. That for me was great verbiage.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know, and you have to infiltrate deeply within yourself. Because like I said, I didn't even know I was having panic attacks. All I knew was I looked down, my heart be beating outside of my chest, and I couldn't explain it. I want to live up to this standard. I wanted to, but the pressure of it was just overwhelming. And I would think, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And you have to just take extreme accountability. Like I said, when it came to, well, Jennifer, who are you? Who do you want to be? How do you identify? And you left the house saying, my relationship with God is my relationship with God. Okay, well, own that. Take hold of that, anchor that. And in doing so, what does that relationship look like? Are you his servant? Are you submitted? Are you listening? Are you reading? Are you obedient? Are you doing your own thing? So was it her, or was it you not holding yourself accountable to who you say you were? Right?
Which is a misrepresentation.
Yeah. So you got to break that heart open. You can't keep playing the blame game. You can't keep playing. Your parents are supposed to hold you at a certain level and certain standard because they want the best for you, right? But as an adult, as an adult, I had to say, look, I have to own my relationship with God. I have to own my relationship with self. And if I say that I'm a dignified, classy, elegant business owner woman, am I acting like it?
Yeah.
Am I acting like it? Am I doing the smart thing? Am I doing the responsible thing? Am I paying attention to my emotions in a way where I said, you know what, this is my boundary. I'm setting my boundary, and that's it. Certain things ain't for you, it's for me, and I got to handle it. You can't keep, it's your fault I'm like this, and it's your fault. Da, da, da. You can't keep doing that. You can't keep doing that. You'll be stuck in that forever. I ain't stuck.
It will, you know what? It will erode us from the inside out. But it is a very seductive thing because you're talking about being accountable for your transcendence. In order to be accountable for transcending, you have to actually also be accountable to your pain.
Yeah.
And so while I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, that it is not really valuable for us to deflect blame all the time. And trust me, I've done it. I do it because it is kind of the most natural thing to do when you're feeling defeated or you're feeling deflated. But once you detect that that is what you're doing, before even being accountable for your path forward, you first have to be accountable for your pain. My mother really hurt me. And
Yeah.
so it's acceptable to acknowledge and address that so you can grieve that, so you can move on. And then you're preparing for being accountable for your transcendence. Okay, now what do I do with this? Now where do I
I
go
had
from
tough
here?
conversations. I addressed it. I did.
Yeah.
I didn't get an apology, but I
Yeah.
addressed it.
Yeah,
You
good for
know,
you.
I was called sensitive, and I said, you know what? Maybe I am. Maybe I am. You know, um, sometimes the pain would show up in ways I didn't know was pain. It was misbehavior.
Right.
You know, it was toxic relationships. It was trigger. It was trauma bonding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, drinking buddies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, complaining all the time with
That's
somebody.
a good one. Oh boy.
Gossiping to distract or deflect. Those things aren't productive. They're not productive, and it's not moving you any closer to where you want to be in life. And like I said, having those difficult conversations, I don't know what I expected. I knew I had to have them. When I didn't get an apology and was called sensitive, I was like, really? But I think that was my mom's way of saying, you grown.
Yeah.
You got to get over it, you know? But since she has apologized for certain things, because she didn't, I think it took some time for her to kind of really see what I was. When we had the conversation, I hadn't really been home long enough for her to see what I was talking about, you know, and how things were kind of showing up in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
life in certain areas. Um, but it, I love my mother dearly. I do. She's such a strong spirit. She's such a strong, elegant woman. And I wanted her respect more than anything. And it
Yeah.
disappointed me to disappoint her. You know, it disappointed me to not hold that standard and not hold true to who she raised me to be out of my trauma that had nothing to do with her.
Mm.
But then also um, not knowing who to blame for some of it. You know, like all I knew, I was hurt. And it started at home. And so I wanted to say, hey, I didn't feel safe anymore. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel seen. And I'm an adult. And I don't want to be stuck in the past no more. I want to move
That's
forward. I
right.
want to heal from all this crap. I'm supposed to be married with kids and, you know, all traveling all over the place and all this and all that. And I had felt stagnant. And I think that there was some real deep work and some deep healing that happened with the whole family. And it just feels so good to say, you know what, I did that. I came home and we had those. Sometimes we were yelling, sometimes we wasn't, you
You
know.
said it got colorful
It got
sometimes. Do you think
colorful,
do you
but
think
yeah.
do you think that I'm curious about this because you were describing your own willingness to confront a wound, and then what you got in response was honestly another wound because it was invalidated
Yeah.
when she said you were being too sensitive. That's another, it may have been unintentional or whatever, but it is a deflection and it's a dismissiveness.
Yeah.
So you confronted a wound with the person that you feel wounded you, or one of them, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was deflected, which is another wound. But it sounds like what you took from it was recognition and affirmation that this is the boundary of what I'm gonna get. This is
Yeah,
where
you
I
might not always
might not get what
get,
I'm needing.
you can't, you might not.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that was her lesson to me.
yeah,
You might not get an apology. You might not get the thing that you say you deserve. You want, now what? Now what?
yeah.
Grown woman. Now what? You know, and I don't know if it's a black thing, honey, but we might not get an apology. We might not get the validation or whatever it is, but you have to be strong enough in your relationship with God to say, you know what? It's gonna be okay. I'm anchored in him, and I find my peace in him, and also my dignity and my honor is within him.
And
And I
try
did
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did what
It,
I did what I had to do in coming to you and saying what I had to say. That was my piece. I had the
yeah.
courage enough at this age, at this time, to at least say my piece and at least speak my piece. And it took me a long time to even get there. So I
Yeah.
was proud of myself for even addressing it and having that difficult conversation. It wasn't just my mom, it was with my dad. Like those were very personal, difficult conversations that I wanted to address, because we're talking about success, we're talking about family, we're talking about living a
Mhm.
whole big old life. And I was like, I'm stuck over here, but I want to get to the root of it. And when I came back home, that was the thing. It was like, okay, let's address the trauma, right? I was sexually assaulted and I didn't feel protected. Let's
Mhm.
address it. Let's talk.
Mhm.
Let's put a label on it. Let's just talk about it and say it was talked about. And we had never talked about it. We had never talked about it. And that was
Yeah.
very, very important, to address it and to talk about it in a way that, um, just it wasn't talked about. And I didn't know how to process it. And it took all these years to even try to process what happened.
Let alone with
Yeah.
someone else, and that let alone in relationship to someone else. It's hard enough to process it on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I went to therapy and I wanted to dig some things up in the root as far as my behavior, moving forward, how to forgive and how to let go. I thought that I had knew how to forgive. I thought that I had let go. But my life was not reflecting that. And I can honestly say at this point in time in my life that I forgive, that I find peace in knowing that sometimes we don't know what to do. Sometimes we panic. Sometimes we fall short. But the love that we have between each other is very genuine and it's very real, and it's always coming from a genuine and real place. So even if we drop the ball,
Yeah. Yeah.
it might be a glass ball, it might break. Because I was gone for 15 years now. I don't want no little bit of time. I
Yeah.
was gone for 15 years. But I was determined to have my family in my life. I will always tell people I'm family oriented. Family is important to me. So I knew that at some point I was going to have to come home and address my issues, address my identity of who I said I was and what I said was important to me. And regardless of what they did, I knew who I was in the life that I wanted to build for myself.
I think Jen, if I may, I'm going to say this because you said a couple of things that I think are so significant. And I want to offer this to anybody listening, that, especially since what we're talking about is breaking in, like who I am, not what I do, and just the core of your person, the core of your personhood. You're talking in a way that feels very symbolic of something else that I think is super profound. You kept saying I needed to come home. I'm very family oriented. And while I get the impression that you have addressed some things on behalf of your relationships, I want to emphasize that it sounds like you have become such an incredible self companion. Like you have become a woman that you yourself can rely on to like make adjustments when something isn't in your best interest. And so I kind of feel like when you say I had to come home, I feel like the act of confronting your pain in relationship to your parents or your mother was really you coming home to you. Like, I'm here to save you.
I'm here to
I'm here to stand up for you. I'm
say,
here to stand up for you, to speak for you, even if they don't have the capacity to do it.
yes.
And that is so, and I think it's important to name it that way because as relational people, so much of our healing, to your point about accountability, is so dictated by what other people do.
Yeah.
But there is a term called self partnership. where you, in self-leadership, where you are demonstrating, I will take care of you, even when the people around you don't have the capacity to. I'm going to go get you some help. I'm going to Google and better understand the kindness versus the, and I commend you for that. I think that's dope. We're all welcome to have a journey of like coming home to the soul.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a very enlightening, soulful experience, a spiritual experience. I am not the same woman. I will let a negative thing go in a heartbeat because now I'm loving myself. I'm loving myself from a place of dignity. I'm loving myself from a place of wholeness. I'm loving myself from a place of just feeling worthy from being created by a God who says, I don't make no junk. I don't make
Right?
no mess. And you out here misbehaving and you know you better than
Girl,
that.
you better put that on a shirt. I don't make no
You
junk.
know you better than that. You know you can do better than that. You know you can show up for yourself better than that. You know you can climb to higher heights. You know you can help more people. You know you can be of more service. You know you need to get up out this bed, put these clothes on and go. You know how many people you touched in just one conversation, girl, if you don't get your tail up. So yeah, I had to be my own hero.
That's
I had to
it.
be my own boss. I had to shake myself up out of it because I was raised by a woman that don't play no games. She don't play. But
But and
I
also
love that.
I love that too. You know you need to rest,
I did.
strong black woman.
I did.
You know you need to sit your behind down for a minute and take a breath.
I did. I
You know
did.
that part too.
I did. I did. I did. I
Yeah.
don't care what nobody say. I did. I sat down. I felt like I had climbed this whole big old mountain, child, and fell. I fell. Oh, and I was tired. Oh my God. I was tired. I came home from living in Vegas for 8 years. Before Vegas, I was by myself for 7 years in Detroit, just trying to figure it out. I didn't speak to my family for 15 years. No, I did not know how to live. No, I did not know how to get a mortgage. No, I did not know how to go buy a car. No, I did not know how to do anything on my own. I had to depend on a man. I had to figure it out on my own. And the man ain't always nice, honey. And I will leave you. I will. And so I had to, it wasn't nobody but God. Like when I tell you, it wasn't nobody but God kept me alive and safe.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be like that sometimes where
I,
there's no other
it ain't
explanation.
no, it's been so many moments, honey, where I could have lost my life in them streets. Lost my life. And I didn't even know sometimes what I was getting myself into. I didn't even see it coming because I was so naive. But I'm going to tell you, looking back on it, I'm so appreciative for the language that I have, the
Mm.
understanding that I have, that when I talk to you, I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking to you about what I read in a book and I didn't do myself or I didn't go through myself. No, I've been there. I went through it and it was hard. And
Yeah.
fear ain't going nowhere. Fear is going to creep up and you have to figure out. You have to figure out how to dig deep and move forward anyway. You have to figure out how to smile and move forward anyway and realize that you are God's child and you have a purpose and you are loved and move forward anyway. If they don't love you, he loved you. He woke you up today. You got another chance again. Sometimes I will say that. I'm like, God, I woke up. I got another chance to get it right. Let me just try to get it right today. Let me just try to figure it out. And it would just be that, like, oh, God, I woke up today. I got another chance to figure this thing called life out. I got another chance to try to get it right. Let me just get up out of bed. You know, I love life. I love it. I love the lessons. I love getting on the other side. It was so hard and so rough, but now I'm like, this is the good stuff. This
It
is the
feels
good
worth it.
stuff. It feels so worth it to be able to say, hey, girl, I know what that feels like. I've been there, and you can get on the other side of it. Ah,
Yeah.
you are not by yourself. You are not alone. I know what it feels like to need a drink. I know what it feels like to go through a whole bottle. I know what it feels like to stay with a man you don't even like for real. You don't even like him.
This is a symptom.
It's a symptom of a bigger problem. And hopefully at some point you stay in it until you're over it. You know, sometimes you stay in it, but in prayer, and in submitting to God and submitting to his will, you will want to love yourself. And some of that stuff you doing just don't look like love. And it don't feel like love. And you don't want it. And you say, you know what? I don't want this. I don't like this. But you gotta have that honest moment with yourself in the mirror and be like, this ain't even me, dog. Like, this ain't even me.
Well,
What am I doing
and
here?
well, and I think one of the biggest vulnerabilities is sometimes we're entangled in something so long that we start to get seduced into thinking it is like that it is me,
That's
and
it.
that this is just who I am, and that this is just who I am. And so what I can appreciate is I think the theme is really just the recognition, the willingness to simply say, just at the very bare minimum, I don't like this. This don't feel good. This
Yeah.
isn't acceptable for me. This isn't what I had in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what did I have in mind? You know, staying a position of curiosity is our greatest tool, our greatest jump start. You know, I have to say, I could sit here and talk to you forever,
Right? We
but
gotta
I do.
go.
But I do want to acknowledge that, I mean, we could always do it again, but there's a little action in the back because my child is making his lunch and we got to get ready for,
Yeah.
he gotta
We've been
lay it
on here
down.
way longer than what we said.
We do, but I feel like your testimony, Jen, and your just humility and your willingness to just lay it all on the line is one of the things that I've most appreciated about you since I met you. And so I just want to remind you, I think you know that it sounds like you're in a space and in a season where you are coming into greater contact with just how worthy and how beautiful you really are. And I know people listening to this, myself included, we have these seasons of life where sometimes it's dark and sometimes it's shadowy, and sometimes we are triggered in ways, or we are in a cyclical entanglement with old unresolved stuff. I mean, we never arrive. Like, if we're lucky, we get to experience evolution over and over and over and over again. So I just want to say, I salute you, my queen sister girlfriend, and that red lip is rocking my world. I salute you, and I hope you know you always have a friend in me.
You have been just such an inspiration. You have been such an inspiration to watch. I
Thank
mean,
you.
listening to lives, being there with you from day one, just knowing that you always thought so big and you thought beyond yourself and you thought about purpose and you always thought about community. And so that right there is God sent. Like, that's love to the utmost, to think about community and think about outside of yourself, and that's the woman whose cup is full. A woman can give is a woman whose cup is full. So
Thank
I
you.
thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll talk later.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's Loving Me Style session. And I will see you back here again next week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Oh, let me say this. Hey, y'all, a liberated me, the DianeMorganGroup.com. A liberated me.
Oh, amen to that. A
Amen,
liberated,
amen.
a liberated
A liberated me. Go to thedianemorgangroup.com.
Okay, we're gonna put that in the comments, y'all. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.